this series for the draft phase. Dplus KIA definitely taking their time to decide, and ooh, it's the switch up with the Aurora. And not only it's a takeaway from Kalix, but also in case Kingen wanted to flex it for himself in the top side of the map. But Nongshim looking down the round of skirmisher junglers available for the table. And yeah, Vi, definitely nice way if you want to guarantee point-and-click lockdown on one priority target.
Yeah, we talked about this previously, but the order of operations right now for the priority junglers is very much a team-by-team dependent thing. We've seen Jarvan be so heavily prioritized throughout this entire tournament. It's gone through pick and ban, you know, in game number 1, and now so far the Vi prioritized on blue side over that Jarvan as well. So certainly a bit of an interesting adaptation considering how this tournament has gone, but plenty of things to pair up with the Vi. It's very flexible. This Jax being picked on R1 does indicate that they do once again just want to go for this style where they can get their solo laners into a good spot, and certainly wouldn't mind them picking up another, you know, priority jungler here, whether that is the Jarvan itself or perhaps a Sejuani that pairs well with the Jax.
Maybe. Dplus KIA. Also have to think about if the Taliyah is going to be sniped away by Nongshim, as Taliyah and Vi has been a tried classic combo for the entirety of the 2025 season. But Nico was left on the table as well, and the Taliyah does get secured here for Kalix. So now, not only you have the Taliyah Vi point-and-click lockdown onto one priority target, but you also have AoE CC coming in from that Pop Blossom.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge turn on blue side here for Nongshim. They have a very, very strong engage comp right now. You have plenty of ways to start fights and to keep them going. If you find good angles to be able to create plays and be proactive in the mid game, you got to make sure you have some damage come in, though. I think the 80 carry that rounds out this comp is going to matter a ton. Who you play off of could be very valuable, and just as we were talking about earlier, this Jarvan was eventually going to come through in a pick ban like this, and they end up pairing it up with now the Lucian culling that can really take advantage of anyone trapped.
All right, now the question is, what other champions can Dplus KIA use or lock in for themselves that really capitalizes on top of a cataclysm that prevents Nongshim from being able to move or escape from a small AoE circle? Well, Ziggs comes to mind. Not sure if ShowMaker wants to take that into the Taliyah specifically, but just something to keep in mind.
It is something to think about. You never really know with ShowMaker what he's willing to pull out right now. Makes a lot of sense to at least ban out some of those top laners that give Jax some problems. Gnar, kind of the main one that you really just want to take off the board and not really give an option. We talked about the Ahri previously for DK. I want to take away playmakers for ShowMaker. I think that really is the thing for me that I'm the most scared of here. I get that their individual matchups into Taliyah just aren't all that ideal, mostly because it's difficult for Ahri to feel comfortable dashing when Taliyah can just put her ground down and make things a lot more difficult. But specifically, I think having ShowMaker on something that can create action alongside the Jarvan is the most important part, even if it doesn't necessarily cause all this havoc and panic inside the cage itself. Twisted Fate, I think, is another great example. Pretty much every major macro threat has been taken off the board now.
And because Galio was already played in the previous game alongside the Rise, those are further notches down the list of champions that you have available to you for ShowMaker to try and roam quickly around the map with this Jarvan. Dplus KIA taking their time on deciding whether they want to lock in their mid laner of choice and wait to give counterpick to BeryL for R5, or go for the BeryL counterpick right now.
Yeah, certainly would expect the support pick here, and it's going to be the Bard as the lock-in. I actually quite like this in terms of the way their comp is set up. They needed a playmaker. They needed somebody that could really create alongside the Jarvan and make sure that you can like have these wombo combos. Again, you draft Jarvan for the big combo potential, and I think Bard actually in a roundabout way creates that. He creates extra walls to, you know, end up having some problems there as well. So, you know, trap someone in the Cataclysm and then Tempered Fate or the other way around, it can all really work out. Expected damage coming in from Jiwoo, though, and that's what we get with the Yunara.
You already have the Nico secured, so you have major engage tools. Now, Nongshim, do you go for a tank for Kingen so that you have a proper front line to stand behind as this Yunara and Taliyah? Or do you double down on the dive threats? And oh boy, okay, well, Gragas definitely throws a wrench in the plans for Dplus KIA, because Gragas can kind of facilitate both roles depending on what Kingen decides to build.
Yeah, this is a Kingen classic. This was something he's played so much over the course of his career. You know, I don't mean to say it, this really is a bit of a Zoe angle. If DK want to go for it, there is something to be able to play off of here if you did want to go for it. But again, that Gragas really shuts down not only the Jax in the side lane because you have that body slam to be able to shut things down, but... Oh, there it There's the Kassadin.
Say it with me, chat. Kassadin. Oh my goodness gracious. You have so much magic damage on this damage profile from Nongshim because Nico, Talia, Gragas, and a little bit of splash of magic damage thanks to the Yunara passive. This is a great Kassadin angle, and for Nongshim, a true timer is truly put on their heads. If they do not close out this game fast before Kassadin hits that level 16 mark and gets 2-3 items under his belt, I mean, this is the ultimate scaling champion when you look at the threats that are still available in this game.
And the problem for Nongshim here is that really makes it hard for Yunara to function in this game, because when is she supposed to generate all of her gold? This is already a comp that really wants to spike in the mid game around Vi and Talia and Nico, moving around the map and being proactive, being these big playmakers. Well, now you've got Kassadin that's not only going to be able to isolate himself and kind of neutralize a lot of those plays, you've got disengage from the Bard, you've got disengage from the Lucian, you've got disengage from the Jax. It's so hard for Vi and Talia to lock anyone down in this game. DK have a ton of scaling on their side, and they have plenty of ways to get there, and it's not just us who believe.
Yeah, the Grasshopper is dead set on Dplus KIA's side in that box. And I think after seeing a Kassadin, oh, they're even using the old Kassadin splash art. Oh, now I feel like I'm back in 2013, man. Oh, take me back to the good old nostalgic days. Oh, now I feel old. Okay, man.
Yes. Yeah, you're telling me I've been around since 2012 as well in this game. You know, I've been around for Kassadin for every part of this champion's history. Now we get to see ShowMaker pilot it for I believe the first time in 2025.
Oh boy, well here we go. Game 2, time to hit Summoner's Rift and see if Nongshim can bounce back, or if it's going to be a Dplus KIA sweep into the grand finals.
Oh boy, is this game interesting to set up, because while you are getting relatively normal starts from both of these teams, I do think that there is some interesting, I guess, information to glean from exactly where these players are going to be going. 11-3 on the Kassadin over the course of his career. That is a ridiculously good win rate. I get that ShowMaker's won a lot, but he is a proficient Kassadin player. I can specifically remember multiple Kassadin games from international tournaments past where he's been able to take over. We'll see if he can do it here again against the Talia.
He's even got the unsealed spellbook just to have access to more playmaking potential. Either some aggressive summoner spells like the Ignite and the Exhaust, so that when he jumps onto a priority target, he can guarantee that they are going to bite the dust, or even things like Ghost, just so that you have a lot more movement speed to navigate in a team fight, paired alongside the multiple instances of Rift Walk that you'll have available as long as you have the mana pool to boast for it, as Siwoo did get an aggressive ward onto Gideon's blue quadrant jungle, but returns to lane, and already taking a pretty nice aggressive trade into Kingen's Gragas.
Yeah, this is okay for Jax right now. It won't be okay for Jax for long. Eventually, this interaction will turn quite poor. That's always been the case for Jax into Gragas, and that's where I think you can look at Nongshim's draft and see a lot of positives for them, as they are just going to have quite a few ways to play early. I think the Talia, obviously, into the Kassadin is going to have every bit of tempo in the entire universe, and, you know, Vi generally has a pretty decent matchup into the Jarvan, into the Kassadin as well, so it's going to be at least easy for Nongshim to play aggressive. It's just how aggressive are they willing to go, and how big of a lead can they get?
Normally, I wouldn't stress that you have to go super hard in the paint early on, but that all changes when you're playing into a Kassadin. I think the onus becomes even more urgent for you to force plays onto this Kassadin in ShowMaker's hands, and to the credit of Kalix, it looks like he's going to be putting some decent pressure onto ShowMaker's health bar. And one barrier that ShowMaker does have to overcome before he's level 6 is that he has melee range, so it is a little difficult to try and safely pick up farm. And as I've seen from previous Kassadin setups, sometimes they go for fleet of footwork just to have a little bit of extra sustain, but credit to Resolve Tree as well as the Dorn Shield. Probably feels comfortable with enough sustain under his belt, plus the fact that he went Inspiration Tree and gets Biscuits too, and he's totally chilling, but maybe Gideon can find something on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, for Kassadin, now it's the waiting game, right? It's just making sure you're in a position where you're not getting taken advantage of early by the Vi, because the one thing that will cause your win condition to become much more difficult is giving free gold over to the other side here. Talia's basically going to have a free laning phase. She's always going to have shove, and Kassadin really has no way to be able to fight back against that. Kalix has been very good at playing the map and playing side lanes throughout this tournament as well. That could be an avenue for them to potentially get back into this, but really, my eyes are going to be on GIDEON. What can he do on this Vi? Because you've talked about the clock ticking for Nongshim. Well, a lot of that pressure of accelerating that clock is going to be on this Vi to create plays around the map.
Yeah. Lehends was trying to look for a sneaky minion disguise play, sneaking up into the mid wave, but looks like he's been there for quite some time, and because he's been moving so sporadically, ShowMaker has to know. And yeah, he's throwing up the question mark. Frog's like, who do you think you're fooling?
You gotta love it. You gotta love how pro players get to use that passive, and some of them use it very well, and some of them are very, very fun to watch. Lehends usually uses it well. Unfortunately, that time, maybe not the best execution we've ever seen.
And low-key, I think he leached a little too much XP from Kalix there, so that ShowMaker might have an opportunity to hit level 6 before Kalix does on this Talia. Decent CS advantage for Kalix at the very least, but ShowMaker going to be hitting that level 6 spike relatively soon. And once he gets access to Rift Walk, then this matchup becomes a lot more difficult for Talia to always have that leverage on top of.
Yeah, I mean, Kassadin definitely going to feel a lot stronger the moment he hits that level 6, which is basically happening right now as we speak, especially on this next wave, but certainly not going to be perfect overall for ShowMaker. I still think that Kalix has plenty of opportunities to open up the map for his team and to create that tempo, create those extra turns, as I like to call them, but now it's GIDEON doing exactly what we talked about, potentially taking advantage.
Nice single barbs onto BeryL. He pops the heal for the movement speed, but GIDEON is looking for a nicely timed flash into Vault Breaker as he was channeling it. Gets over aiming and finds first blood for Nongshim.
Yeah, it's a huge first blood for them to get. Again, this Vi has to have gold going into the late game. If she does not, she's going to get absolutely destroyed in these team fights. And so getting that kill onto Vi, I think, is actually really essential. And getting more gold onto the Yunara, I think, is also really important. We haven't really mentioned Jiwoo a ton in terms of how this game breaks down. But if there is a late game win condition, a protect the AD carry, play style, it is absolutely through this Yunara in the later part of the game. Getting an assist down there is really positive.
And you called it. Even though Kalix has not been able to set up a play onto ShowMaker's Kassadin yet, it doesn't mean that your win condition is completely lost. Now you just have to try and leverage your pressure somewhere else on the map. Find a timer where you can base, TP back, have that lost chapter available to you so that you can instantly shove out the wave, and then just try and look for a Weaver's Wall onto the bottom side of the map and get more kills into your pockets before this Kassadin really takes off.
That's exactly what it is. That's why you pick the Talia early on in the draft, because regardless of who you're going into, you get to make these plays in the early game. This champion is able to accomplish so much as long as you are actively staying open to the possibility of moving around and sacrificing a few waves. That's what you're looking for. But Kalix could be getting stunned up here.
I mean, he's not going to be forced to flash anytime soon, but you can already see that because ShowMaker was able to stay so long on the mid lane and matching Kalix's base with a tier and a catalyst, he's going to have his mana pool starting to ramp up, and he's got the catalyst for extra sustain on top of it. I mean, this is a perfect state for ShowMaker to operate in. As BeryL trying to ensure that aiming is protected on the top side of the map.
Yeah, it's really just a question now of how much do you want to put into the grubs. Again, this Talia is not nearly as far ahead as you would like at this point. You want to make sure that that mid lane matchup goes according to plan, but with 5 seconds on the spawn timer there, we see basically everybody corralling around it. Nongshim is in the pit.
ShowMaker tending to the wave first and probably just signaling to his team is like, hey guys, I'm Kassadin. I would like to farm. I would like to scale. Let's not throw the game on this grub pit unless it's a good fight. ShowMaker now finally roaming on over.
They're going for
Weaver's
it.
Wall thrown out. Lucid is on the other side of the wall. ShowMaker trying to follow up in the play. Cease and desist. Locks down Lucid, forcing him to flash into the pit. And maybe Dplus KIA have a chance to reposition safely for a re-engage. All 3 grubs go to the credit of Nongshim. And now it's just all about retreating, not dropping any unnecessary deaths. They get the objective.
Yeah, it's non-committal from DK, so they don't really lose too much, but at the same time, they're not pressuring anywhere else on the map. It's okay to give grubs over if you don't feel comfortable taking the fight, but you lose a lot of time being able to pressure down a top lane or a mid lane if you are going to pull that attention, and so it ends up just being a win for Nongshim. They pull the time from DK, they get the grubs, and that's the kind of aggressive play they need to make to keep this game neutral.
But now that they've secured the grubs from themselves, Kman, it's all about actually leveraging the power of those grubs to accelerate to your pace in the game. Get extra gold into your pockets. Try to get to those item spikes a little bit faster so you have that little bit of a timer to find those wins on the Dplus KIA. Because we can't stress it enough. If you let this Kassadin coast into the late game without any challenge, it is not a winning formula for Nongshim.
That is not a Kassa winning formula for them at all. No, you need to pressure this guy out. Kingen forcing the flash out of aiming already. Very nice play from Kingen. No flash on Lucian is very, very valuable to have for these fights. Dragon is up as well. It has yet to be taken on the map this first Drake at around 10 minutes into the game. We'll see if with that pressure, Nongshim want to try and, push forward now with that. But DK rotating their bot lane back down, trying to get themselves in a position to potentially start stacking these.
GIDEON will clear out his topside camps before he plays for Dragon with the rest of Nongshim. And the fact that there is no flash on this Lucian now for the next 4.5 minutes, that should be a big red flag for Nongshim to say, okay, guys, if I just press ulti on Lucian, this guy should die. In theory. Now, there are some countermeasures that Dplus KIA can try and enact if BeryL can find a well-timed Tempered Fate on top of it. It delays the combo, but here comes Nongshim with their priority in starting up this Dragon.
Absolutely what they should be doing, forcing DK to make a decision on the map. Do they want to try to contest, or are they going to push elsewhere? The answer right now seems to be elsewhere. Dragon is free, but we got to watch that top lane tier 1. Jax and Jarvan on that side.
Lehends looking for the Pop Blossom Flash right on top of aiming. There's the Temper Fate to stall out the combo from Taliyah, and the magical journey over the wall. Oh, nicely played by BeryL's Bard, and delays time so that Dplus KIA's 80 carry. Oh, the Flash Cosmic biting onto Kalix. Flash from Lucid falls up with a nice slam dunk of a Cataclysm on top. Jiwoo trying to go crazy as he goes transcended by Siwoo with the Flash counter strike. That turns the tides in the favor of Dplus KIA. Lehends going to be the next one to fall. That's the feat of strike picked up for Dplus KIA here in game 2.
Oh, what a massive fight for Dplus KIA. It's beautifully played by BeryL on this Bard. We've been waiting for a vintage BeryL performance, and I think we might be getting one in game number 2 here. Ridiculously good stuff, and we get this thrown up now. Nongshim has not had a good historic record versus DK, and it is showing right now as we get a replay of how this starts. Lehends with a great flash to take advantage of the flash-less Lucian, but it's a better ultimate coming in from BeryL. He sets up the journey back out, aiming all of a sudden is safe. He can culling over the wall, and he basically lands every single bullet here onto the Taliyah, making it so easy for BeryL to feel comfortable flashing in and going for this aggressive play. The dunk comes down from Lucid. He does take a little bit too much damage from Jiwoo in this exchange, but I think they're going to be pretty happy with how this turns out as Jiwoo gets the 2.5 man stun here with the clone, and the Jax can easily clean up the fight. The only negative you can say for that for DK is that Kassadin didn't get any of the gold, but outside of that, that was a perfect fight for Dplus KIA.
And for hardcore LCK fans, they know that Dplus KIA have the upper hand when it comes to Nongshim, not just in recent memory when you look at their Split 3 playoffs run and being able to dominate Nongshim and make it as the second Rise group seed into playoffs, but also credit to our producer Alk, who showed their historic record. It is a devastating one that favors Dplus KIA and unfortunately not Nongshim.
Yeah, I mean, DK's been good for a long time, and we're seeing why here. Aiming, dropping the culling. Down, Lehends is just dead!
Okay, well, the gold lead is still not that big for Dplus KIA, but the fact that it's a scaling composition, a super heavy scaling composition, just off of the strength of ShowMaker's Kassadin, who, throughout all the chaos that has happened, he's just freely farming up a storm with no challenge from Nongshim, as GIDEON quick moves with the Vault Breaker, dashes away from that Tempered Fate set up by BeryL. Meanwhile, Kingen trying to find an explosive cask on the Siwoo, doesn't really put him in a compromised position here, but Dplus KIA in a completely fine state, if not a very winning state at this pace of the game.
This is tough for Nongshim, because we talked about how they needed to get an advantage, how they needed to get gold on priority targets like the Yunara, the Taliyah, the Vi, and they've not been able to do any of that throughout this mid game. We're already starting to hit the point where DK is strong. ShowMaker is level 11, and you gotta remember, that is a massive, massive difference for this Kassadin. Roa is completed. It's not quite stacked up yet, but it is only going to get worse. All of that gold actually went to Jax, which makes this an even bigger problem in side lanes. The pick potential we haven't even really talked about from Bard and from Jarvan as a combo for DK means that Nongshim can't even feel comfortable walking up on the map. There are so many things moving against them right now. But DK do have to be proactive. There is a way for this game to stall out a bit for them.
Is there? I mean, normally I would agree, but the fact that ShowMaker is just coasting at this rate, decent CS advantage because Nongshim have tried to be proactive with their earlier spiking composition and the tools that they have available to make fast plays on the map, and they have not been able to get anything advantageous, so ShowMaker naturally a level up onto Kalix's Taliyah. Level 11, so rank 2 on that Rift Walk, going to be even shorter of a cooldown and more powerful in the damage
Lucid
department, as Lucid doesn't find the knockup, but ShowMaker ready to play and engage onto GIDEON as he gets knocked out by the cease and desist, but great Tempered Fate by BeryL, deflects and stops the Pop Blossom from even coming in, and ShowMaker is just going crazy into the backline, being able to Rift Walk all over Nongshim's corpses. Jiwoo dies in the magical journey trying to escape. Lehends will be the next one to fall, and Kingen can't do anything as he pans over briefly to the bottom side of the map just to see all 4 of his teammates die.
BeryL is smurfing right now in this game on the Bard. He plays this just about as perfectly as you can. The setup is great. Lucid goes very aggressive for Jiwoo here to pair up with the culling, but doesn't actually land it. So this engage isn't really all that great. ShowMaker's in a very compromising position, but this Tempered Fate, I mean, this completely saves the fight. It dodges ShowMaker from that Pop Blossom coming in from Lehends, and now the re-engage can come through from both the Kassadin and the Jarvan, all the while aiming, doing all the damage possible on this Lucian, blowing up this Yunara as she has to basically do all of her damage onto ShowMaker to even just disengage him from the fight. He even comes out of this alive, and we immediately come back to Kingen using ult to disengage.
He's now level 12 on this Kassadin, and 6 minutes from now, when the Rod of Ages completes, he's going to get a free level as a Cosmic Binding clips Lehends into the wall. ShowMaker's ready to follow up as well. The flash from Lehends barely gets him out alive, but Dplus KIA can now easily look to take the Rift Herald in response as Kalix tries to flash away, but Siwoo follows on top of it and bonks him with the lamppost to death. Nongshim just losing everything on the map as aiming is going to dash under the tower, takes out Jiwoo, will fall and trade for it, and just shut down bounty goes over to Jiwoo's Yunara, but I feel like Dplus KIA don't really care. They are so far ahead.
We got 2 back-to-back solo kills, I guess 3 technically, and then we cut to BeryL and GIDEON, and I thought, oh, here we go. We might be getting it. GIDEON's got to be careful here. Tempered Fate is just barely going to miss. BeryL continuing to stay aggressive. At least look for these plays. It's just been a really fun and proactive game from Dplus KIA, and even if they are giving some gold back, it's not going to matter too much as GIDEON looks to pressure them at the very least out of this Rift Herald pit, but you can't really do that. This team is too far ahead.
Yeah, the Nongshim are definitely gonna at least put enough pressure that Dplus KIA cannot commit to the Rift Herald all the while, but it definitely doesn't allow Nongshim to take it unless they are forced to just blitz it down, which GIDEON is gonna try to pull off while Dplus KIA are backing off the objective foot. Now it's gonna call them back over.
Yeah, I mean, they can just rejoin this fight. They've got everybody here. We have the teleport coming in from Kingen.
Weaver's Wall tries to separate members of Dplus KIA away from each other, but it just pins them on the other side of the river. Lehends with the Pop Blossom knocks up 2. It's already secured GIDEON for Rift Herald, but BeryL makes it out alive. They lose out on Lucid, but oh, he's a little too close to the turret. Okay, not ideal for Dplus KIA. And Nongshim will be able to find a nice response, picking up the Rift Herald as well as 2 kills for them. Maybe they can break open this mid-tier 1 turret.
That's a huge play for Nongshim. It doesn't completely get them back in the game, but you need an injection of gold from somewhere, and Lehends finding a great Pop Blossom to start the fight will definitely be that creation. Oh, no way.
Jiwoo thought that he was safe to crash the Rift Herald into the tier 1 turret because the rest of the team went for the dragon, but Jiwoo was behind enemy lines, finds that pocket of fog, gets a nice flank off, and now Kalix might be in trouble as ShowMaker is starting to ramp up the Rift Walk. Doesn't decide to go for the dive yet.
That would have been such a greedy dive here from ShowMaker, but knowing him, it is very possible. Jiwoo continuing to just make everybody's life on Nongshim much more difficult as he just siphons over resources to himself with jungle camps. Aiming will be able to get solo tower gold on this mid lane tier 1, open up the map even more, and things are just immediately like that right back in favor of Dplus KIA, despite the fact that that Rift Herald fight was not ideal.
Nice combo from Kalix onto BeryL. Will he go down? No, he's got a magical journey to get back to safety. Linking up with Aiming as Siwoo is going to answer into Kingen. GIDEON sneaking through the lane. Does have cease and desist available. Siwoo does not have flash, but he has Grandmaster's Might. Nice combo from Kingen. Cease and desist right on top of it, but the counter strike
oh,
does
Kingen.
prevent
Oh,
the
no.
Autotex from going around. No way! Oh. Siwoo finally bites the dust there, but it took everything from GIDEON and Kingen to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, and if that magical journey was slightly better, perhaps Bard could be here for this. Actually, Lucid's going to do his teammate a good favor and try to get him in range for a potential assist here.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
Goodness.
It's fine. It's fine.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Nothing happened here. Everything went according to plan, and they picked up the kill like they were supposed to.
You did not see Lucid miss the EQ flag and drag. It's okay. They still got the kill in the end.
Oh, goodness.
I'm catching strays. My producer just goes Raafaa J4. Holy, oh, come on, man. I don't make those kind of plays,
oh
bro.
My god. It's
oh,
just,
man.
Everything's going down right now. Unfortunately for Nongshim, they are on the sinking end of the Titanic as it plummets into the sea. Hopefully they can figure things out and get themselves, you know, back on track for the rest of this game. It's just going to be so hard with Kassadin.
Producer Alk doubling down, saying it's not a stray, it's direct. Oh, man. Well. Oh. Understandable.
Well.
Understandable.
Raafaa, you gotta fight back. You can't take it.
Bro,
you
I can't fight back. He's not wrong. Sometimes it took me a while to get a grasp on J4. Me and Alk have played enough times on some amateur competitive teams that when I first started playing J4, it wasn't great. But we improved it. We improved it, and now my J4 is very respectable for an Emerald Diamond level. Anyway, Dplus KIA trying to put the finishing touches on wrapping up this late game as ShowMaker is 2 levels away from level 16. Aiming almost clipped by that seismic shove. Flashes at the last possible second. GIDEON getting aggressive onto Lucid with the ball breaker.
Here.
But ShowMaker has arrived. He throws down the Cataclysm and gets back out with the EQ flag trap. Aiming with the culling. Puts the lights out of Lehends' eyes, and Dplus KIA now continuing to flank and push on forward. Lucid gets blown up, but that opens up ShowMaker to get aggressive as Aiming alongside ShowMaker blows up Jiwoo. ShowMaker looks for Kalix next, and here comes the flank from Siwoo off the teleport just to put an end onto Nongshim's lives.
Poor Lehends didn't even get the Pop Blossom off before he got called down to his grave. Once ShowMaker showed up and got those ults rolling, things became quite difficult. The TP interrupted.
Explosive Cask punts him away, but she was still in range to look for the leap strike. At least King, he's got a flash. Siwoo is not letting Kingen getting away, and you even saw on the player cam Kingen with a slight smirk on his face going, all right, well, this one might be chalked, gamers.
Yeah, I don't think Kingen is sitting there blaming himself too much for the game state that we're in. We're going to get a replay of this big fight that took place here. Lucid feeling aggressive because he knows ShowMaker is on the flank, and Aiming's in a great spot for this. Lehends wants to try to Pop Blossom, but just gets bursted down inside the Cataclysm. The culling ends up taking his life. This exhaust onto Jiwoo is massive for this fight. It means this turn is actually significantly slower from Nongshim, which gives ShowMaker time to re-enter the fight. Even with the Vi ult landing onto Aiming, there's more than enough damage to obliterate the AD carry of Nongshim, and at this point, it's a very easy cleanup. Jiwoo even TPing in to be able to take one of those kills for himself. It's another dominant fight for DK, and at this point, we can't even really sit here and go, well, now they can move on to, they can do whatever they want on the map. Dragon in 20 seconds, that's likely going to be their goal.
And the biggest thing is that ShowMaker, off of that fight, the Roa finally ticks level 10 or the 10 stacks. And hang on, Gideon is in trouble, and ShowMaker is there to arrive. He is level 16, y'all. The clock has struck midnight on Nongshim's chances to try and find a comeback into this game. It has run out. ShowMaker has hit level 16 on Cast a Win, and I fear that this series is about to be over.
We can start playing the outro music now. Raafaa, you've made some phenomenal tracks for us, and we might as well start blasting those because this game is not looking good, and Jiwoo is looking even worse here.
Oh my goodness, ShowMaker is absolutely terrifying. Forces the ultimate out of Jiwoo just so that he can get a chance to escape ShowMaker's grasp. And thankfully for him, he ran out of mana chasing him down, but I don't think Nongshim have any tools, or at least enough tools, to deal with this Captain at this state of the game. 4-0-6, 3 items to his name, 10 stacks on the Dark Seal. I think it's time to wrap this one up, boys.
Question is now, how do they want to do it? Do they want to wait out this Baron spawning in 25 seconds? Is that going to be their priority? Or do they fancy trying to find a pick in a team fight? Right now, Lehends feels like he has to go up and check. He doesn't really have teammates around him.
Oh no, Lehends is in trouble, and good night! Blink and you might just miss that Lehends died in an instant. Jiwoo is going to be the next target. No flash available. The cease and desist does put a stop to ShowMaker's roll, but a tempered fate. Beautiful once again from BeryL. ShowMaker doesn't even go down. Lucid with the Cataclysm locks down Kalix for the cleanup. And Dplus KIA just wipe the floor with 3 members. And Kingen, he knows. He knows. And Jiwoo having a laugh.
God.
They know that this series is chalked, and at least Jiwoo has the sportsmanship to let Kingen play with his food for a bit before he's now under threat. And ShowMaker gonna TP back, run him down. Yeah. Understandable.
Oh, man. Yeah, this is sometimes just how the game goes. ShowMaker is in the base. He has crossed the lines through the turrets. He doesn't need the inhibitor turret. He's finally going to go back for it now. Baron has been acquired throughout all of this nonsense, this amazing sportsmanship that we are seeing. And we actually see a teleport coming in from Jax. They're a bit disconnected in terms of their timers, but the end could be very well near within this next push for DK. And I think Nongshim are starting to accept that as well.
Yep, 12,000 gold deficit is pretty damn hard to overcome. Pretty much close to impossible. It's like 99% that there's no way that
Otacon's still up. Yeah, I guess we can take that.
Wow. Well, yeah, you might as well pad the objective stats and make sure you are taking everything off the board here so that Nongshim have absolutely no shot at being able to make a comeback. It would have to take more than just stellar play from Nongshim. It would have to take serious throwing from Dplus KIA. It would have to take Lemony Snicket writing a full-on series of unfortunate events just to make this comeback happen. And I don't even think we would be able to get through one book. Dplus KIA now about to put the finishing touches on wrapping this series up.
Yeah, ShowMaker's level 18, Kalix is level 14. This game has not really been going well in the back end for Nongshim, but we could be seeing the final push happen now as DK takes the inhibitor tower. The inhibitor will be the next to fall on the top side, while ShowMaker splits that in the mid lane as well. With these Baron empowered minions, they can only hold out for so long. Siwoo even pushing down on the bottom side. One engage from Lucid could end this entire thing.
All right, Nongshim, let's see the Hail Marys come out. Let's see your last stand. Kingen just standing there, trying to look as menacing as possible, despite being down a lot of gold. Okay, Tempered Fate locks him up. Here comes Siwoo with the counter shot. Looks for the backline instead. Pop Blossom is decent, but no follow-up is available from the rest of the Nongshim members because they got to deal with ShowMaker and Siwoo just blitzing the backline. ShowMaker picks up a double, pops the stasis from his Seeker's Arm Guard. Kalix looking to try and get at least one kill into ShowMaker. It's not gonna happen. ShowMaker is immortal on the Kassadin. That's the ace for Dplus KIA. 27 minutes. That's game and series finished in the books. Dplus KIA are going to the grand finals.
And boy, did they earn it in this series. This was a destruction, a 4-0 day for Dplus KIA across their 2 bracket series that we have gotten so far to get themselves to grand finals. There was a lot of question about whether or not DK were truly the favorites at this tournament going into it. I think all of those questions, at the very least for now, have been erased. Whatever you think happens in the lower bracket, they are going to have to meet the Titans that are Dplus KIA in the finals.
The Grasshopper did not lie. The Grasshopper knew every time when Dplus KIA was on screen, the outcome was evident. And for Dplus KIA, oh my goodness, 26,000 damage on Kassadin. Gee.
Kassadin, most damage in the game is a very, very bad sign. That lets you know that things got out of control way faster than they needed to.
I mean, we saw that Nongshim's attempts in trying to break the game open for themselves went completely awry, and ShowMaker was just comfortably farming by himself on the bottom side of the map. So when you take those gambles and you don't end up victorious with them, then you are essentially accelerating your doom.
Yeah, it is. It's tough. It's tough to be able to play out these early game comps when you don't have any sort of late game win condition. And it's even more difficult where, let's be honest, like, you're not favorites in the series. In order to play comps like this, they require a higher level of execution because you need to make those proactive plays count. It's not just making them, it's making them in the right place at the right time. And if DK ends up playing this game correctly, which they do, they're able to stall out enough to get to the point where they win one fight and the game is over.
Well, Kman, I know producer Alk is a very happy camper, knowing that he gets to go to bed a couple hours earlier, knowing that Dplus KIA were able to put a quick wrap on both the BFX series as well as the Nongshim RedForce series. I know that he was sweating a couple bullets when BFX had their opener in Game 2 of their respective series. But nice to know that for us here on the LPL English broadcast, we will all be, well, at least here, us closer to the West Coast, we'll get a chance to go to bed before the sun rises. I know, Kman, for you on the East Coast, the sun is blazing through that window right now.
It's 9:19 a.m. over here on the East Coast. We've gone through the night and we have gotten to the morning. Obviously, very thankful to get the chance to wake up and see the sunshine alongside this wonderful ASI gameplay. It's always a pleasure here, but DK certainly making my morning worth it.
There you go. I mean, we got a Kassa win game. My goodness, that is... If you're gonna win and blitz the series, might as well do it in style, and that's exactly what we got from Dplus KIA. The tournament expected favorites before coming into day one, and the fact that it was a little rough for them, especially losing the series against Weibo Gaming in the fashion that they did, it's okay. They were just warming up, getting their feet wet, and then boom, they have now ramped up into the form that should be a favorite to win the entire Asia Invitational.
Yeah, I mean, they look as good as they possibly could at this tournament. I know a lot of people were, you know, maybe who weren't as tapped into the LCK were maybe surprised to see how DK's year went. They weren't just, you know, not a Worlds team. They were in the Rise group for all of Summer Split. This was a team that, you know, was kind of looked at as the odd man out for a lot of the year. And after such a good LCK Cup and all of these famous players and such a historic organization, I think a lot of people were, you know, maybe not, you know, seeing what was going wrong with this team. It's good to see that in some of the bigger moments of their season, because they're not going to be making Worlds, they are able to step up. This is, you know, the last we will see of this version of DK in 2025, and they're certainly making the most of it.
That's right. Well, we are waiting to see the eventual ShowMaker player of the game with the Kassadin. I could also see a Siwoo player of the game. Nah,
yeah.
Come on. The aura is just too good to not give it to ShowMaker for the Kassadin. Is that 3 player of the games today? Because it was back-to-back player of the games from the BFX series with the LeBlanc and the Malzahar.
Yeah.
Then Aiming picked up the first player of the game of this series, but ShowMaker, 3 for 4. Yeah. Not a bad way to put yourselves into grand finals for the Asia Invitational here, Kman.
It is 3 of 5 on the votes. 2 votes for BeryL. I kind of feel that in my heart. BeryL had an awesome game on that Bard, but how can you not look to everything that ShowMaker was capable of doing, kind of carrying his team as he's done for a lot of this year.
Yeah. Honorable mention definitely is deserved over for BeryL, but I mean, Kassadin Aura is just too hard to beat out. But ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude our broadcast for tonight. We'll take a look at the bracket now that Dplus KIA have advanced to the grand finals, where they now await their eventual opponents, where Nongshim RedForce will await the winner of Weibo Gaming and BFX to see who advances from the lower finals.
Yeah, let's not forget, this tournament is not over. DK have done a great job to get themselves now into finals, but nobody that we saw lose today is out or done from their attempt to win the entire tournament. Weibo, FearX, and Nongshim can all go on runs and can all, make things happen if they can just win one series against DK. They just now have the easiest pathway. So I'm super excited for tomorrow. I'm very excited for finals, and we're going to be covering it all here on LPL English.
Yep, quick note for y'all. For our broadcast tomorrow, it is both the Weibo Gaming versus BFX series and the Nongshim versus the winner of that prior series, but it's only 2 best-of-3s tomorrow. So that means our broadcast is going to start a little bit later at 2 a.m. Pacific, 5 a.m. Eastern time. For any of y'all West Coast or East Coast viewers here in North America, I'm not sure what that translates to for European time. Sorry, I just know that it's it's later in the day. I will not repeat what our producer said. Anyway, before we close out the broadcast, we want to remind everyone, as always, thank you very much to our elite coffee supporters, Aaron Soup, Mung, Forest Without, and owners of BeryL. Their pledged financial contributions help level up the broadcast and give back to the cast and crew who strive to give you an English LPL product every single day. Now, this is officially my last day of casting on the LPL English broadcast for the 2025 season. I know that I didn't get a chance to give a formal adieu when I was able to I was given the opportunity to cover the lower finals for Split 3. That was a huge pleasure, and I just want to say, guys, casting LPL English has been such a treasure. It has really helped me individually refine my voice and honestly my passion to cast League of Legends again. I know that I had to work a lot alongside my producers, my colleagues, and be able to find my drive again. And casting LPL has been just so beneficial to, I mean, not just me, but a lot of us here on the broadcast. I think a lot of us have really leveled up over the course of the year, and just being able to get so many reps and cast some high octane gameplay and just chaos every second is just so damn good. And producer Al giving me the what is it, the Oscar treatment. Wrap it up. Just go, I want to go to bed. But I do mean it sincerely from the bottom of my heart. It's been an absolute pleasure working with the LPL English broadcast this year. And Kman, any last words before we close it out?
It's my last as well, and I won't go on quite as big a spiel. I already did that at the end of the LPL playoffs, but I'm so fortunate to have gotten to work with so many of the best in the business right now, the best at their craft. I get to learn every single time I step into a call or a VOD review. It's insane how wonderful this entire experience has been. The chat as well, you guys are always phenomenal in terms of the hype that you bring to all of these games. This has been truly a dream come true to get to cover stuff like this.
Yep, and while we still have a couple more days of the Asia Invitational to cover here on the LPL English broadcast, once that concludes, we want to remind everyone to support the LPL teams going to Worlds. Shoutouts to BLG, Top Esports, Anyone's Legend, and hopefully IG T1 always gets the BS plot armor buff when they go to Worlds, but if IG can do the unthinkable and beat T1 before they even get to the main stage of Worlds, oh, that would be pure cinema. But here's hoping. But for now, signing off.